Hello, BookTube. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, so I'm not going to bombard you with videos today. I was going to do a video for every one of the events that I'm involved in. For instance, Autumn Amore, all about romance reading that I've been doing lately, or Dick Timber, which has been a joy, reading about private eyes and private investigators of all kinds, or Book Trek 2022, which was a joy for its first month, and in the second month of Book Trek, which is all about Star Trek fiction, is dedicated to so-called New Trek, to Alex Kurtzman Trek, and the books that it spawned. There haven't been many books. I've read my way through them all now, and it's loathsome. And I can't help but notice that most of my co-editors, my co-hosts for Book Trek, are sort of standing by. So I feel like the canary in the coal mine as far as enduring, exploring all of this new Trek. Because I haven't just been reading the crappy books. I've been watching a lot of the crappy shows. I was going to do videos for all of those, but I'm not. I was also going to do a Monday Reads video, and I'm not. I'm not going to do any of those things. Instead, I thought I would just do the mail and hope for better tomorrow. It's been a contentious day in terms of email with the publishing world. Usually that goes totally by the book. Most publicists I've known for years, I've followed them from house to house to house. But today I get a bombardment of, as you might expect, a bombardment of publisher emails every day. Some are impersonal, some are not, and my publisher day has been weirdly frictional today. I got one publicist sent me basically a pitch of the publicity for an upcoming book that is definitely something that I want to read, but the publicity sheet, the electronic publicity sheet, had a glaring factual error in it. I had to point that out, and because it's the 21st century, I girded myself for the very worst possible response. Even though I know the person, I girded myself for once I have said something, or written something, or tweeted something, then it is true. I cannot ever correct myself. That is the current prevalent mind frame of the 20th century. That once I have claimed something, it is true. And you're a bigot if you say it's not. I don't care about the facts. So I girded myself for that. Another publicist I've never heard from before sent me an email pitching another book, and it sounded very interesting. So I wrote back and said, I would love a copy of this. And she wrote back and said, well, thanks very much. Copies are conditional on guarantee of review. And I resisted the natural urge when you're as old as dirt, is to say, you're very young, aren't you? Because that might not be the case anymore. I have resisted the urge to say that at all. Instead, I wrote back and said, that's not how this works. That's simply not how this works. Even post-pandemic, even in the 21st century, that's not how this works. I'm not your employee. So you don't get something for giving me something. You're giving a book to me for my attention, in acknowledgement of the fact that I have an audience. Now, I have a readership that's fairly large and that exists on, as far as I know, 4 continents. If I sing the praises of one of your books, it's going to do much better than if I don't. And that was before BookTube. I never think of you as, a readership because we're talking to each other. Nevertheless, a lot of you over the years have developed what I consider to be the highest possible compliment to me, which is a good trust in my recommendations. So if I recommend something to you wholeheartedly, enthusiastically, you're willing to take a chance on it. All of my readers are like that. Most of my customers, back when I worked in a bookstore, were like that. That's something you build up over time and trustworthiness. It's not just time. I also have to be proven right enough times so that people keep coming back for that. It's no small thing. It rests on critical judgment and readability, accessibility, ability to assess an audience and an audience wants. What I'm trying to say is that when I request a book from a publisher, I'm not stumbling in off the street saying, got any free toasters? So the rule here, the method here for publishing has always been, If you have someone with the ability to megaphone a book of yours, you pay the postage to mail the book to them and hope that that works. Hope that it has exactly that response. You certainly don't say, well, if you'll guarantee me that you'll review the book, then I'll send it to you. That's simply not the way it works. I had to write back to that. And there were a couple of other emails that were a little bit on the fractious side, so I wasn't really sure. Tone is notoriously difficult to read in email anyway. I wasn't really sure about that, but I managed to get through it. And I also got a lot of mail. I got a bunch of book mail, as I do every day. And one of the packages was addressed to reviewer. Just reviewer. Not my name, not Open Letters Review or Big Canoe News, in both of which I am in charge of the reviewing of books, but just reviewer. And I'm not going to open it. It's not addressed to me. I have to try anyway to track down who sent it and why on earth they would do that. Whether, that's if it was intended for me at all. So it's been a little bit of a wrinkled day in terms of my relationship with the outside publishing world. But we do have packages that are fairly unambiguous that we can go through. And we can start with the mail, with the New York Review of Books. A thinner issue than usual here, and I have a bit of a worry about the New York Review of Books that I don't know that it's justified. I don't know that it's borne out by the most recent issues that I've read. The issues have been very good. I haven't read anything in this one yet. I just got it, but it looks really good. I don't like the fact that they seem to have eliminated their letters page. It could just be that they're not getting enough letters. I find that hard to believe. I fire off a letter every week. I'm sure there are plenty of other old cranks who do too. There are too many states. Please eliminate 2. P.S. I am not a crackpot. I think they're getting letters, but it's always an ominous sign when a publication eliminates a letters page. When Marvel Comics did that, it was a sign that they were about to do things that they didn't want to get negative criticism for in their own letters page. It's when you turn off the dialogue, that's bad. That tends to be bad. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's just space limitations. Maybe they're counting every penny and can't afford the extra page for reader feedback or whatnot. But that's not my worry. My worry is that's a little indicator of my worry. My worry is that the New York Review of Books is going to get infected with, oh God, what's the matter, baby? Is it down there? There you go. Is going to get infected with Twitter politics, with identity politics, with posing and blue checkmark crapola. I'm worried about that, and I don't quite know why. Little signs here and there don't add up to a justifiable reason to think that. And certainly nothing in the table of contents this time around does. It's just publishing industry there are strong influxes of what I consider to be the one of the primary diseases of the 21st century. The book award circuit, book awards are entirely infested. There aren't any that are even remotely healthy. They're 100% gone. And I can't help but think that it's only a matter of time until literary journals, except for the ones like, for instance, the TLS is adamant against it. They've identified the trend that I'm talking about, and they don't like it. Aside from that, I don't know. Like I said, I have no grounds for suspicion with the New York Review of Books. It's just my hackles are up, and I don't know why. This has a whole bunch of people in it that I really like. And there was one that really jumped out at me. Yes, the great biographer Hermione Lee reviews a new biography of Joseph Roth that's been getting a lot of press. She's not the first person to review it in a big journal, so that's great. So I got the New York Review of Books and then a bunch of mail. And the first one looks individual. I don't think it's a violation of rule number 1. Rule number 1 on this channel is don't send me a book unless I specifically okay it. If you check with me ahead of time and I say yes, fine, then you can. But otherwise, don't do it. Let's see here. Oh, no. Okay, this is an actual book. This was just sent to me sort of individually. No publicity material. This is, oh my god, I'm never going to get the name right. This is a slim volume of poetry. The title of the thing is No Further Than the End of the Street. It has requisite ugly American cover art. And the author, say it with me now, that is certainly not Conti Donegal. Benjamin Niespodziani? Niespodziani. Niespodziani. It's a collection of poetry. Open it at random to a paragraph of prose. So we will see. I haven't had much luck with slim volumes of poetry this year at all. Not at all. The one that came closest to being in any way enjoyable was that one we saw, a month ago called Whale Fall. But most, no. Anyway, let's see. That thrashing that you hear in the background is that for some reason, Frida has decided to attack that package that I threw down on the floor. She hasn't done that in a long time. She generally ignores packages now. Maybe she's having a second childhood. we came across a very touching moment today on a dog walk. We came across a pug that Frida has known her entire life. And the pug is sweet and adorable, but I've had Frida for 5 years, and that pug was middle-aged when she met little puppy Frida all those 5 years ago, and she's not middle-aged anymore. 5 years is not anything that a dog can slough off. She now has trouble seeing and has some joint pain and is a little whiter around the face. It was a little pausing, it was a little touching, because it's coming for Frida. Right? She's not any exception to the rule. But anyway, what have we got here? Okay, this is from Other Press, the folks at Other Press. Frida, what are you doing, baby girl? You know, the fact that you don't eat packages anymore, I hope that doesn't mean you've lost the knack for eating packages. You're not supposed to actually eat anything. Right, baby? You're not eating anything. Okay, all right. This is going to be a paperback original. It comes out later this month. It's by Christian Salmon, and it's called The Blumpkin Project, a biographical novel. $18 original paperback. Captivating hybrid work. Writer and researcher Christian Salmon looks to his own background as a would-be Bolshevik in the 1980s Paris to recount the epic story of Yakov Blumpkin, a revolutionary figure from the early 20th century, drawing on the conventions of both autofiction and biography. You don't get to do that. This book illustrates the life and times of an elusive legend of the October Revolution. Told with the rapid pace of a spy novel, it will appeal to fans of John le Carré's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy and the TV series The Americans. Using a trunk containing Bolshevik paraphernalia and literature as a framing device, the author invites readers to travel back to Eastern Europe at the turn of the century and investigate the enduring mystery and legacy of Blumpkin. Okay. With the aid of manuscripts, documents, rare photographs, and personal souvenirs, the author paints a compelling portrait of Blumpkin and more broadly of the October Revolution. Okay, so is it a biography? Is it history? Or is it fiction? If you are drawing on a trove of primary information and you list that, does the author dare to list that in the background? No, the author does not. If you're drawing on this is just the pub sheet, right? It's not the book. I'll read the book tonight or this week sometime. But if you're drawing on a trove of primary information, primary documents and photos and whatnot, and those things exist outside your imagination, someone else could consult them, then if you're drawing on that trove in order to write a novel about Blumpkin, fine. But that will mean there will be invented things in the book as well. It will mean you can't really do that. You can do a historically underpinned novel, but the history can't excuse the fiction, and the fiction can't excuse the history. So we will see. We will see what I make of it. Does the author? I'm curious to know. The author does not have a bibliography at all, which works of nonfiction tend to do, even in the 21st century. But I wonder if the author has Okay, this is translated from the French. That was nowhere in the pub sheet. That is bad. We should be giving translation a lot more prominence. Yeah, okay, the author doesn't have an introduction either, so we will see. We will see. Let's see, let's move on to this next one here. I am rapidly losing energy here, so... And naturally, since I'm feeling under the weather, the packaging is fighting me. It sits in a truck all day long, so it's probably understandable. What is this next one? Okay. Is this also from the Other Press? Yes, it is. Okay, this is another paperback original from Other Press. Let's get rid of as much information, much of this extra stuff as we need. Look at all of this. Good Lord. Okay, so how much of this is... This comes out in early October as a $19 paperback, and it has a War and Peace attached to it, that I don't need. So anything about the book? Okay, here we go. So the book is by Igiaba Skego, The Color Line. Highlighted by the New York Times in an article dedicated to the best Italian female writers in recent years. So is this translated from the Italian? It is. It's translated from the Italian. Premio Mondello Award winner and journalist Igiaba Skego is a force, deft at exploring themes of colonial violence in her writing. Born in Rome to Somali parents who took refuge in Italy following a coup d'etat in their own native country, the author is drawn to exploring migration and mobility, or lack thereof, in her work. In her latest novel, soon to be released in the UK, events were inspired by the true stories of two pioneering black women in America, abolitionist and women's rights activist Sarah Parker Raymond and sculptor Edmonia Lewis, which are melded into the character of Le Fanu Brown, alternating between chapters on Le Fanu, a 19th century woman of Haitian and Chippewa descent who leaves a traumatic past in America behind to pursue painting in Rome, and chapters narrated by Leila, an Italian art curator of Somali origin who passionately investigates Le Fanu's history. This gorgeous, haunting novel illustrates the broad, diverse spectrum of otherness in their home and adopted countries, exploring through lines in racism, sexism, classism, and immigration. We also see their perspectives shift as they look back on their teens and early 20s with the experience of women in their 40s, resulting in a remarkable narrative of intertwined stories of two women's indomitable spirit across centuries. Okay, well, this comes out in early October. I'm going to ignore it for the rest of September. September is still pretty full for me, so I'm going to wait. But it's a nice, hefty thing, so that's good. So another one from Other Press. Now we have one of these vacuum pressed things. Let's see what we have here. Okay, this is from the folks at W.W. Norton, my favorite non-Penguin publisher. What have we got here? So this is a January release. Don't have to think about this year. Boy, it's been a while since you heard destruction sounds in the background of a mail video. Frida hasn't gone after the mail in years. I wonder if she's also was a little bit touched by seeing that pug this morning. Let's see what we have here. This is by Wendell Stevenson, and it is called Margot. And you know it's cool because it's got smoking on the cover. This is a moving portrait of a young woman's struggle to break free of her upper-class upbringing amid the whirlwind years of the sexual revolution. It's the mid-1950s, and Margot Thornton is growing up between a Park Avenue apartment in New York and her family's sumptuous Oyster Bay estate as the presumed heir of her late grandfather's steel fortune. Her domineering mother has charted a course for her to forego education and marry well. But Margot is more interested in microscopes and beetles and books. I like Margot already. When a devastating fire brings the family legacy crashing down and the sexual revolution dawns, a new path opens up. The expansive world of the late 1960s Radcliffe College and the intellectual, cultural, and sexual freedom Margot has been reaching for. Hailed as for her intelligent and heartfelt fiction, Wendell Stevenson writes with grace, precision, and great psychological perception. With this book, she has crafted a vivid portrait of the quiet torment of young women of its era. a comically caustic mother-daughter story, and a memorable evocation of one woman's passion for the wonders of science. Okay, well, this doesn't come out until next year, and I'm not going to. I'm trying not to read 2023 books in 2022. I've broken that only a couple of times in the whole course of the year. I'm trying to stick to it because there's plenty of 2022 still to be read. And then we'll finish up with this last one here. I don't want this video to go on much longer. I am fading fast. We'll finish up with this last one, and then we'll be done. And then for the first time, literally in years, I will have to clean up a mess Frida has made of all of the packaging material that she has just destroyed. She never does that anymore. What have we got here? Oh, great. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, this is a finished copy. Usually when something is this thick and heavy, it is. This is a finished copy of something I believe that comes out in October. Am I right about you? Are you October? Yes, this comes out in mid-October. We've already seen it. Now I have the lovely finished copy. This is Sean Connolly's book, On Every Tide, the making and remaking of the Irish world. Sweeping history of Irish immigration. This book tells the epic story of Irish migration, showing how these immigrants became a force in world politics, religion, and culture. By the end of the 19th century, 2 out of every 5 people born in the island of Ireland were living beyond its shores, the majority in the United States, and also spread as far as Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Argentina, and South Africa. The 19th century world was transformed by industrialization, by Western colonization of vast new lands, and by ever more complex patterns of international trade. It was to this new world that the Irish emigrated, and which, equally importantly, opened up to receive them. Remember that the first time we read this? The world absolutely did not. If that is meant to be some sort of sotto voce indication that the reason the Irish were accepted is because they were white, it's just factually wrong. And if that's the aim that the author is going for, that look how well we treated these immigrants because they were white, in other words, the subtext of so much that you read everywhere in the 21st century, which is your grandparents were horrible people, then I don't want to hear it. I'm really hoping that's not, I haven't read this yet, I'm really hoping that's not an element of this book, because that is just ahistorical. As migrants in search of economic betterment, the Irish joined the nearly 60 million Europeans who crossed the Atlantic. They provided the cheap manual labor that fueled industrialization and empire building globally, working on railways, warehouses, and docks, or, in the case of women, in the clothing trade or as domestic laborers. On Every Tide reveals the extraordinary impact they had on the places they settled, becoming a dominant group in major labor movements, a powerful bloc in urban politics, and in spreading and solidifying the influence of the Catholic Church. Often living in poverty and working at the bottom of the tier of the labor pool, Irish immigrants faced many of the same hostilities that immigrants face today. Yet, as the author shows, the Irish were both victims and oppressors, and they displaced indigenous people and emerged as the prominent defenders of white supremacy. Can't have them be victims. I can't have them be heroes in the story. They've got the wrong skin color for that. So you can't be portraying the triumph of my grandparents, who were never racist towards anyone, have never oppressed anyone. Can't say that there were thousands and thousands and thousands of Irish people who came to America with nothing and made a go of it without oppressing anyone, without being racist towards anyone. Can't do that. The author weaves together 300 years of history and individual stories that look beyond the stereotypical Irish immigrant of the time period. The frontier settlers and farmers, the hidden majority of Irish Americans who were Protestant, and the Irish women who made up nearly half the immigrants from the island. Taking the story up to the present day, the author attempts to answer questions such as, what can the experience of the immigrant Irish tell us about the U.S. and Europe's struggle to respond to migrants today? I know what Twitter's answer to that question would be. It's that everybody today except me is a racist. I, the blue check mark on Twitter, are the only morally perfect person. Everyone else is racist. And what is the future at a time when Northern Ireland is back on the political agenda of the Irish-American lobby in the United States? Okay, so the author is a professor of Irish history emeritus and visiting research fellow at the Institute of Irish Studies at Queen's University, Belfast, and is the author of 5 books. So this comes out in mid-October. I really should get to it, but believe it or not, I have a lot of September still to do. So maybe I won't. I have the finished copy now, so it's a kick in the pants to get to it. But maybe I won't until, since it's mid-October, maybe I won't do it until October starts. But anyway, that is the mail. I'm pooped. So let's do a wobbly Steve pyramid. We have, and on every tide, about evil racist Irish people invading America. We have Margot by Wendell Stevenson. We'll have to check and see. I hate to do it, but it's the 21st century, so I have to. I'll have to check online and see whether or not the biography of Margot that is described in the pub sheet of this book is the biography of its author. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to see. Then The Color Line by an author whose name I am sure I am destroying. Then we have The Blumkin Project, a biographical novel. So good representation from other press. They're terrific. Then a slim volume of poetry, No Further Than the End of the Street by, let's try it again, Benjamin Niespodziani. And the New York Review of Books, which is the periodical that I have to show you, but it's not the periodical that I want. The periodical that I want is the new issue of Vanity Fair, which appears to have, from what I've been able to see online, a massive dissection of the self-immolation of the actor Ezra Miller, which I have to confess, I really want to read that article, even though I'm pretty sure I know everything that's in it, just to see, has the author of the article talked to anybody that knows Ezra Miller, or any first-hand accounts that probably the article is available to me online already since I'm a subscriber, but we'll see if I get it in the mail. But anyway, that's it. That's the mail for today. I'm going to wrap this up and hope for better representation tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.